Dr. Roy, a distinguished economist with expertise in developmental economics, fiscal policy, and international finance. He has vast experience in academia, policy making, and international organizations. He's significantly contributed to shaping how people view economics. He's shaped the worldview of a lot of students over a lot of years, from what I know. I'm really thrilled to have him here.
Thank you, Pranamya, and welcome everyone. Good evening. It's nice to be speaking I've spoken in the Delhi Quorum, the Gurgaon Quorum, and the Bombay Quorum. It's nice to be speaking finally in a quorum in the city where I live and I was born. So I hope this will be a reasonably interactive and interesting evening. I look forward to your comments because what I'm going to tell you is a proposition that is scary, but you know what? It's not my problem. It's your problem. And therefore, anyone here under the age of 50, this is going to be your problem if you recognize it is a problem. So here goes. That's me. This is what I do in Hyderabad. And I also spend some time in London. I'm a visiting senior fellow at ODI London, etc., etc. But what I am at the moment is someone who has worked in government, worked in academia, worked in the private sector. That's pretty unusual. And have decided now to apply my skills to questions that worry me about the country in which I was born and the country in which I now work and the region from which I am. Please don't make the mistake of most Twitter people. I have nothing to do with Bengal, except my great-grandfather came from there. My mother is Telugu. I was born in Hyderabad. My father is from Maharashtra. I'm fourth generation Maharashtrian. That is my first language, and that is the language I think in. So here goes. So I'm interested in South India. I'm interested in the peninsula. But I'm not going to talk about my own state. You can ask me about it later because my own state is complicated psychologically. We don't quite know where we belong. It has to do with the Marathas and that sort of thing. But I'm going to talk about the 5 states of southern India. And what I'm going to tell you, let me first start with terminology. I don't want to say North and South India. It's not polite. I'm going to talk about it geographically, right? I'm going to talk about the Great Indian Plain. You know what that is? That's where they have pollution. It's the dusty part of India. Bahut dhool hai. Very dusty. Roughly anything to the north of the Tropic of Cancer, not the Hindi belt. I would include in that the amulet-wearing people of Bihar and Bengal. I wouldn't include the northeast, that's a permanent special case. And I wouldn't include any Pahadis, that's also a permanent special case. But the great plain of India, starting in where they eat tandoori roti, going down where they eat roti, to Madhya Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, Uttar Pradesh, then they start eating rice, Bihar, then they start eating luchi, Bengal, okay? So that is the Great Indian Plain. Now, the important thing about the Great Indian Plain is the majority of Indians live there. Fact. The peninsula is the 5 southern states here. The Deccan Plateau where we are, which is Telangana, and part of southern Maharashtra, but we won't talk about them. The east coast of India, which is Andhra Pradesh. The hinterland from the Western Ghats, Karnataka. The great state of Kerala, which is extremely educated and has wonderful food. And the state of Tamil Nadu, which is India's manufacturing hub. That is what I will call, going forward, the peninsula. Okay. My proposition is that the Great Indian Plain in the peninsula, I used to live in Bangkok. And in Bangkok, they have a phrase, if you ask somebody, what's this food like or what's this rest? They say, same. Okay. So my sort of take on the peninsula and the Great Indian Plain is same, but different. But the more important part is different for all very good reasons, but same for very bad reasons. And how are we different? Oh God, how could we be less different when it comes to my domain expertise as an economist? How could we possibly be less different? The per capita income of the peninsula is at least double of the Great Indian Plain. Actually, if you take the Andhra Pradesh weighs it down. If you take Tamil Nadu, Telangana, Karnataka, Kerala, it's 3.2 times. That is, for every 100 rupees someone in the Great Indian Plain earns, here they earn 350 rupees. If you take Tamil Nadu, it's 450 rupees. So, look at it other ways. Tamil Nadu and Kerala, in per capita income and development terms, are closer to Indonesia. Okay? But UP and Bihar are poorer than Nepal. And every single state in the Great Indian Plain is poorer than that state everyone is scared of Ghuspaiti is coming from. Bangladesh. Everyone hates Bangladesh because they come and take your jobs, right? Why would they come and take your jobs in the Dehat, in the Great Indian Plain? They're poorer than Bangladesh. They might come here, but they ain't gonna go to Muzaffarpur or something to take a job because they're richer. Deal with it. They're richer. Okay? So, and then that's income. Take something we call as economists Human Development Index. Human Development Index of India is crap. It's 139 out of 164 states. But it's crap not because of the peninsula. In the peninsula, if you take states like Kerala or Tamil Nadu, life expectancy, health, education, poverty ratios are comparable to a relatively unsuccessful European country. Take Czechoslovakia, the Czech Republic and Slovakia, or Hungary. Kerala's health indicators are better than the US. Maternal mortality, infant mortality. And Telangana is not too bad. Andhra is bad, but it's not bad only if you compare it with Kerala. It's it's like planets away from UP or Bengal or something like that. Okay? Whereas if you compare, have you heard of a country, anyone here, called Burkina Faso? Well, bad for you. Central African Republic? Okay, these are countries you should never hear about in a civilized day. It's not their fault, but they're really bad places to be. Afghanistan. So if you start comparing HDI rankings, who are my neighbors, if I'm a UP person or a Bihar person or a Bengal person, you'll start talking Afghanistan, Burkina Faso, Central African Republic. If you talk about my neighbors, if I'm Kerala or Telangana, even Andhra Pradesh, you're talking Hungary, you're talking Slovakia, you're talking Romania. Okay? Giving you a sense of what the difference is. And the difference is very important. This is one country, last I heard, India, that is Bharat. In this country, you have the Great Indian Plain earning less than Nepal, much less than Bangladesh, with human development indicators like Burkina Faso. And you have this place where we all are, which is earning incomes comparable to Indonesia, right? And with human development indicators which are equivalent of European countries, and in the leader, Kerala, better than the US. Would you call that one country? I would, because I'm a patriotic Indian, not a nationalist, but a patriotic Indian. But there's another problem in continuing to be a patriotic Indian without recognizing facts. I am an economist. I like to look at data and deal with it. I'm not into Mera Bharat Mahan or 2050 mein kya hoga. I don't smoke opium. I'm interested in what will happen in India in 3 years, not in 30 years. I'll be dead in 30 years. And I advise you strongly to worry about what happens to life in the next 3 years. Those of you who are young enough not to die in less than 30 years. Because in 30 years, it'll be too late to do anything about it. So worry about 2030. Do not believe old men and women in the government who tell you to worry about 2047. Okay, that's opium. And I'm here to dispel that. All right. In a sense, the difference between North and South India is exactly the same as the difference between India, that is Bharat, and China. Deal with it. I know we have inferiority complexes. But fact, China is only behind India on one thing: population. Only on one thing. You pick anything in the world other than Bharatiya Sanskriti or something like that. any other thing that's remotely comparable, China is ahead of India. Anything. Absolutely anything. In the present tense. Moment I do this, normally people start telling me, kal ye hoga, parso ye hoga. That future tense, I'm 52. It's like India will become an exporting power. Boss, I'm almost 60. People have been telling me this at the age of 10. Okay, I'll believe it when I see it. Okay. So, South India and North India are exactly the same as India and China. That South India is ahead of North India on everything except bigotry so far, except population. This is important. Population in the Great Indian Plain is much bigger than the peninsula. All right? So, that has a political implication. Look at this very carefully. Even if you're from North India, because you live here, look at it very, very carefully. This, some facts, some of you may not know this. The population of India has been growing. We are a democracy. So quite correctly, on the basis of universal adult franchise, the bigger your population, the greater should be your political representation. Koi shak? Okay. Koi shak nahi na? Since independence, the relative share of the population, the voting adult population of India, has been growing in North India relative to South India. Our political leaders have been conscious of this, from Indira Gandhi to Vajpayee ji. And what we have done so far is to put this problem into cold storage and said that our Lok Sabha and Rajya Sabha seats, in terms of proportions of seats in each state, will be frozen according to the 1971 population. Some of you are probably not even born then. Hopefully most of you. Okay, so the population that existed in India before you were born. Okay, I was a kid. So when I was a kid, that's 54 years. Frozen. Now, well, we didn't have a census. We need to fade into memory what a census is. But eventually when we have one, there are indications, we have to ask the question that if we were honest about a democracy, honest, what should be the distribution of political seats by states according to population? The answer you will get if we do it honestly is that the ratio of peninsular seats will fall and the ratio of North Indian seats will rise. Let me focus you very simply. Today, if you add up the Telugu states, Andhra Pradesh plus Telangana, 42 seats, you have half the states of UP, half the size of UP. UP is 85. UP is 85. AP plus Telangana is 42. Okay? If we actually do it correctly, that half will go to a quarter. There will be 4 UP MPs for every Telugu MP. Today you have 2 UP MPs for every Telugu MP thanks to 1971 delimitation. I'll repeat that. You will have 4 UP MPs for every Telugu MP as opposed to today's 2 UP MPs for every Telugu MP. And that will mean that these people, Uttar Pradesh, plus these people, Bihar, who you must all congratulate, they have won a spectacular victory there, one political party, and any other state here in the Great Indian Plain combined will have a permanent majority with respect to peninsular India. So if they want to force you to speak Hindi, they can do that. If they want you to believe in Sanatan Dharma, they can do that. If they want you to pay more taxes than North India, they can do that. They can do anything with a permanent parliamentary majority. Okay. Any questions about this slide of fact or interpretation? No? Okay. This is what I call the existential crisis that India is in, the India that I'm bequeathing to younger people here. This is existential for the following reason. So you get it because of population, the Great Indian Plain is more powerful than the peninsula. You got that. Unlike China, where the population dominant areas of China, that is South China and South Central China, are economically more prosperous than the regions like Xinjiang, where the minority population lives. That's not true of India. Minority lives here. Majority lives there. This is much more prosperous, not prosperous, not at the margin, much more prosperous, as I showed you, than the North and the East, than GIP. This is very rare. यहाँ पे मैं पंडित ज्ञान दूंगा आपको. Right? This is where my academic things come. I've examined every single country in the world since and you can do it too, it's common sense, since the end of the Second World War. There is no country that is still a country where this is true. Think, USA. Where do all the people live in USA? Nobody lives in South Dakota or like Atlanta, Georgia, South Carolina. ये सब कौन रहता है वहाँ? I don't know anybody there. Missouri, Kansas. People live in New York, New Jersey, Illinois, Michigan, California, Seattle. These are the most advanced economically states of the US. Europe also, all the sort of economically kachra states. क्या है नाम? Portugal, Greece, Cyprus, Romania. Nobody lives there. Majority live in England, France, Germany, G7 members, Italy, okay, Australia. Everybody lives on the coast. Poor people live in the center, minority. Brazil, same thing. They live in Sao Paulo, Minas Gerais, and Rio de Janeiro, and everybody else is Bahia, whatever, Salvador, and all that. Okay? I'm making a very empirical point. I'm being deliberately provocative. I want to understand this. The minority live in less prosperous areas. The majority live in more prosperous areas. India is ulta. There are only two countries that I've seen since the Second World War where this was true, and they are no longer countries. They have ceased to exist. Khatam Shuddh. One is the former USSR, and the other is the former Yugoslavia. Now do you see why I'm saying this is an existential threat to a country which I'm very invested in? I'm relaxing in London otherwise. Okay? It's an existential threat. This cannot be allowed to continue the state of affairs where the minority of the population is 4 times more prosperous than the majority, 4 times better in terms of human development than the majority, but the majority has the political power. It must not be allowed to continue because it cannot continue indefinitely, because you cannot have a situation where, and that's the takeaway, the minority subsidize the majority in perpetuity. Conceivably, in Europe, France and Germany and Italy can subsidize all this Romania forever. No problem. It's like the state of Tamil Nadu can subsidize the district of Ramanathapuram forever. No problem. Okay? But it can't be the other way around. Romania and Cyprus, I don't even remember the name, Portugal, they can't subsidize Germany in perpetuity. Can't. So it's existential. Because the ones who cannot be subsidized are politically powerful. That is the majority. All right. Now, I'm a policy guy, so I like to come up with solutions. That's the problem. Now, there is no politician who's going to ask me for solutions. But like a stuck record, I'll go on providing them. Baki sab wahi karenge. 10,000 rupees yahan, caste census wahan, karte raho. But I have a crisis. And some of us have to come up with solutions hoping that someday, you say in Hindu religion, koi kalki aayega. मैं कल की इंतजार में हूं, लेकिन नहीं आ रहा है तो क्या करूं? करते रहूंगा, एक दिन मर जाऊंगा, आप लोग करो फिर. 3 solutions are possible. Analytically, only 3 solutions are possible. One is, which is my favorite solution, obviously, that the income of the great Indian plain grows faster than the income of the peninsula, so there is convergence. And as an economist, that normally happens because the base income in the great Indian plain is very low and peninsula is high. So slowly, the growth rate of the peninsula should start tapering and the growth rate of the great Indian plain should start rising. So there is convergence. That is not happening. And I see nothing to make it happen. 15 years ago, it could have happened, but because it's not been happening for all this time, this 300% differential in per capita income, moving that needle to convergence is going to take a very long time. Still, I live in hope. I'm an optimist, believe it or not. If we can come up with some policymakers can stop doing all this, thook and subsidy and all that, and come up with an idea on how to make this happen, then we can do a bargain. If you can come up with a coherent plan for North India and say, dekho, in the next 30 years, your income is going to be not equal to South India, but instead of 300%, it's going to be like 150% less. Then we can do a deal that will slowly have delimitation and change the number of seats in the Lok Sabha, pari passu with your income going up. So we invest in their growth. That ain't going to happen so far, but if somebody says it, we can do it. Any ideas? I'm listening. Okay? Any ideas? I'm listening. Any political contacts who are willing to listen? I'm listening. At the moment, I find zero interest. Okay? बस एक है तो सुरक्षित है, बस वही होता है. All right. Two other options we have. Second option I find most interesting because it's part of my life. See, normally in economics, what would happen is if you don't have convergence, people will force convergence. How? People will move from North India to South India and everything will become equal. So, Biharis will become Telugu, speak Kannada. Okay. Not happening not because of speak Kannada and what you read on Twitter. Not happening because of something terrible we have in India, which is preventing this from happening. I'll give you a personal example, which is the caste system. Don't get frightened by caste system. I'm going to give you a very concrete example. My great-grandfather moved from what is now Bangladesh, terrible place, to Bombay, thank God, about 108 years ago. Okay. My family was accepted in Bombay, and now in fourth generation, I'm Maharashtrian, fully accepted. Why? Because my great-grandfather was a Brahmin. So one thing about Brahmin people, we know we have certain rituals about where we were born and where we die. You may not cremate your dead in the same place I cremate my dead, but we know there's a fixed point of options where we cremate our dead. So मेरा श्राद्ध गया में होता है, उसका त्रिंबकेश्वर में होता है, but ठीक है, श्राद्ध होता है, गया में होता है, ये होता है. All right. And the second thing is we have things called Gotra. So you may not know Gotra. Now, when my parents got married, there wasn't as much opposition as there would be because they were both Brahmins. Different states, two states. Maharashtra and Andhra, but dono Brahmin the. So it was okay. Now, this is good for Brahmins. And it's good for Baniyas also. Without going into detail, Baniyas can do the same. There's money. Even Chettiars are cool. They understand Agarwals. Okay. ये यादवों के साथ नहीं होता है. I know because when I came to Hyderabad, I met various Yadav people. Forget Manas, Badigas, Jatas, forget all that. Yadavs, they're upcoming OBCs, powerful, UP mein powerful, all worshipping buffaloes, all that sort of thing. So I said, boss, why don't you go and marry UP Yadavs? Same dowry, same land, no problem. We don't know them. So there are no touch points outside these two minority communities between North Indians and South Indians. And the way Indian society is structured, for them to be accepted, you need those touch points. Because we might live in this bubble, but those are the touch points on which India lives and thrives. Right? I would have to change it. But you want a revolution, I can't give you that. You have to, and those touch points are not there. I'm taking Yadavs deliberately. I saw a big bull here which was sold for 3 crores during Yadav festival. All right? So those guys are rich. Yadavs here are rich. Yadavs there are rich. Marry rich. Upar niche marry karo na? No. I will only marry here Yadavs. I will not marry those Yadavs. Brahmins do it. Baniyas do it. And more generally, in India you have a barrier, just to explain to you. I don't know if you know this. It doesn't matter whether you live in Tamil Nadu or in UP. 96% of marriages I don't know what happens to sex outside marriage, but 96% of marriages, data nahi hai, are endogamous within caste, not within region. The equivalent proportion for region in South India is 71%. But for caste, it is 96%. अब मैं कैसे बिहारी को तेलुगु बनाऊंगा? आप ही बताइए, कैसे बनाऊं? बनाना चाहता हूं, मैं कैसे बनाऊं? How do I can get an Upadhyay to marry a Rao? How do I get a Brahmin, a Yadav, sorry, to marry a Yadav, or a Kunbi to marry a Tevar, or a Reddy to marry a Patel? Huh? If you could do that, we could have convergence, because then they'll all come here and the population there will go down, will go up here. And I don't have a problem left anymore. Do you get it? It's really exciting if you could do that. But yeah, sociology is not allowing it. Sociology is not allowing you to do it. Chalo. Third option, and here I'm going to talk to the peninsular Indians in this room, is the best option if you're from the peninsula and not unbiased like me. I'm a policy admin, unbiased. But if you're parochial about the peninsula, South is great. South first. Then you increase the prosperity of peninsula 15 times of GDP of North India. They're finished. Kuch nahi kar payenge. They'll become your slaves. Not 7 times, not 8 times. I speak advisedly when I say 15. I'm not just speaking a number. You must become so much richer than North India that they can do nothing. They'll be paralyzed. Okay? Because then you'll call all the shots. You will run UP, you will run Bihar, you will run Bombay, you will run Calcutta. Not going to happen. I'll tell you why. It's the next part of my talk. So option 1, nice, but nobody's interested. And I can take this up in the question and answers. I've tried. No one is in the least interested in increasing the income levels of Bihar and UP. Government of India is not interested. Congress party is not interested. BJP is not interested. DMK is not interested. Maybe Biharis are not interested. I don't know. But nobody is interested. Option 2, sociological problem. Yadavs will not marry Yadavs here. Option 3, good idea. Let's do it. Okay? Not going to happen. Why? Because of 2 or 3 things. Number 1, the Great Indian Plain has been held back from prosperity by massive inequality of a feudal nature. Unfortunately, I have to report to you that that inequality is as bad, if not worse, in the peninsula. So, if you look at India, that is Bharat, or the other way around as you prefer. I was talking to some friends once after a beer back in England. And I said, we should think of having a museum of inequality. So, we should be the best place to put it. I said, India, man. India is the best place to put it. What is inequality you don't have here? Okay? You have income inequality, you know that. Especially your younger people should know. तुम तो tax भी नहीं दे सकते हो. घर खरीदने का छोड़ो. Tax देने की औकात नहीं है तुम लोगों को. ठीक है? मेरा है, मैं बुद्धा हूँ. You have asset inequality unless Papa has given you some virasat, legacy. If you're somebody without any legacy, I could build assets. You're not going to build any assets. You're screwed, right? वो 80,000 रुपए सैलरी पे क्या asset बनाऊंगे? Okay. Then, so your property inequality is therefore. Papa gave you house in Jubilee Hills. Papa gave you house in Manikonda. Papa gave me no house, finished for life. On 80,000 rupees not paying tax. Okay? Intergenerational equalities, and not just economic, political. This is the youngest country in the world. I see some young people here. देश कौन चलाता है? Who runs this country? बुड्ढे. मैं भी बुड्ढा नहीं हूँ. I'm called young Rathin. I'm almost 60. Okay? What is the retirement age for politicians? What did Modi ji say? Hi. Pop. 75. Okay? That's inequality. No? You see what I'm saying? क्या है? Youngest country in the world and 75-year-olds still have a job. Okay? And let me give you the most extreme example from South India. Have you ever seen a country where the film industry is hereditary? मैंने कभी जिंदगी में देखा यार. फिल्म इंडस्ट्री इज हेरिडिटरी. वो क्या बालकृष्ण का बेटा कुछ बना और एमजीआर का एमजीआर कुछ और नाम दो मुझे. We are going into dangerous space there. You know what I mean? Okay, फिल्म इंडस्ट्री वेरी है. शाहरुख खान की लड़की क्या है, सुहाना सफर, हाँ, वो भी कुछ फिल्म में काम करती है. श्रीदेवी की लड़की बड़ी अच्छी एक्ट्रेस है. बट व्हाट इज दिस? Like people are being launched in film careers also. This is supposed to be creative industry. Huh? They're also inequality. And I know this because I've been there in India for a long time. When I started my life, my father was a senior journalist, so people would meet me and say, "Hey, you're not becoming a journalist. Why the hell should I become a journalist? I'm smart." I said, "No, your father is there." What did they mean? They meant that your father will get you nepotistic jobs. Your father will pick up the phone and call the editor. That's how this place works. My father told me never to become a lawyer. Like Pramod, I wanted to be a lawyer. He said, हमारे खानदान में कोई lawyer नहीं है. You will never make a success of it. Because the whole industry, it's not true anymore. We have National Law School, I hope. But in my time, I was told, if you don't have a lawyer, don't even have a hope in hell. Otherwise, how do you be finance minister of India? They're all lawyers. Which economist becomes the finance minister? So I couldn't do law. So, but the troubling thing is that since India's economic prosperity as a country increased from 1991, it was accompanied by an explosion in inequality. I'll give you some examples, which is as big, if you like, as the explosion in mutual funds. Okay. Now, when I'm saying India, remember that the rest of India has not done anything. Oh, Noida, mein some brokers and all are there. They make some money in Delhi. The rest of that, North India, East India, wasteland. Kuch nahi hota hai. So South India is where the action is for economy. India has become prosperous in South India. What happened to inequality here? Let's take a look. Can you read? I'll repeat it to you. I'm sure you can't read. I tried to tinker with the design. Sorry. I thought I was being smart. It didn't work. Only slide that is like this. One slide I tinkered with. The per capita, now listen to me because you can't read that. The per capita income of Tamil Nadu is 3 times that of Bihar, I told you. Actually, it's 4 times. Never mind, 3 times. But the wage rates in agriculture are not even double that of Bihar. So if Tamil Nadu's GDP is 300 and Bihar's GDP is 100, but wages in Tamil Nadu should be at least 3 times the wages in Bihar, not even double. तो बाकी पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है? That's how inequality goes up. Okay? So basically what is happening is that those who are already rich are skimming off all the benefits of prosperity in South India. At least you should see that if per capita income of Tamil Nadu rises by 300%, just to keep things the same, wage rate should go up by 300%. If they're going up by less than 300%, somebody else is getting that money. Who is getting that money? Look around you. You will have the answer. It's not your Uber driver. Just look around. Okay. Kerala is the best, but it's not particularly better. And therefore, you have a bunch of within state inequalities that are a feature of all South Indian states. And I'm saying this all in the context of you want to make them 15 times more prosperous than they are today. Not going to happen because of this. Some examples. The poorest district of Tamil Nadu, Dharmapuri, its per capita income is 25% of the richest district, which makes it like a Bihari district. Dharmapuri district, the same district, has a literacy rate that is worse than 36 districts of Uttar Pradesh, which is a per capita income 1/4 of Tamil Nadu. Okay? 60% of the per capita income of this state and of Karnataka is earned in 3 to 4 districts of this state. Anyone from here can tell me which these districts are? 2 are named after Reddys. Ranga Reddy, Sanga Reddy. और क्या है? Homework. Bangalore, Bengaluru urban, Bengaluru rural, okay, Mysuru, and Bengaluru. That's it. That's all the action. No Chikmagalur, Dharwad, Tumkur, nothing. No action. You just have to drive out of here, and I think Pramod was telling me, and you'll see it. All right. So, all this prosperity is excessively concentrated. It is concentrated in every cross-cutting way. It is geographically concentrated. It is human development-wise concentrated, it is income-wise concentrated, and it is caste concentrated. If you look at misogyny and patriarchy over and above caste, what is so different about South India? Okay, I know it's better to be here than to be in Delhi. That's not difficult. But what about Mr. Arjun Reddy film? What about Arjun Reddy? Huh? How can you make a film like that in a high per capita income, high development, human development area? Without any problem. सब जाके देखते हैं वहाँ प्रसाद वो क्या बॉल बॉल में. Who is this man? Anyone? Prajwal Revanna. My God. I mean, my God. What he did, I mean, very difficult for somebody like Brij Bhushan Singh or something to even equate that kind of venality in the advanced and great state of Karnataka. Okay? Bhavna Menon is a Kerala actress who spoke extensively about sexual assault in Kerala. Right? And I'm not leaving out Tamil Nadu. Let's see if somebody can tell me what this is. More, I have more. Andhra and Telangana recorded the maximum atrocities against SCs, which means atrocities are still happening. Dalits are facing social boycotts, temporary bans, etc., etc. What is so different about UP? Right, you have 4 times the human development, no? So I would expect some more civilized behavior. Nothing. Not particularly civilized. You just don't get assaulted, killed to the same extent, probably. I don't know. But this is not a transformational civilization change. Your human development indicators are 4 times. They're like Europe. Same problem with patriarchy, same problem with casteism. You know what this is? The great state of Tamil Nadu with high manufacturing. What is this? ये कोई बात भी है to have a political issue. On caste terms it was done. Okay, whether or not to kill bulls. All right. Now you're going to do all this and you want to become like South Korea, forget about it. Forget about it. And that is why, I'm just repeating here, and I don't want to talk about Hyderabad, people get angry, but boss, this place is almost as bad as Patna in terms of dirt. And not this Gachi Baudi. I know, drone se acha lagta hai. But footpath nahi hai. This is not even a 2.5 world country. Footpath nahi hai, road nahi hai, rubbish everywhere. Okay. Superstition. Now you all live here. Have you heard of Vastu? Like, kya baat hai yaar? They want to live in Phoenix, Arizona. They build all these posh gated communities. Then I see their underwear. Why am I seeing your underwear in the next house? Because of Vastu. You want to be like South Korea. 15 times the per capita income of North India with Vastu. Karo. Dekho kya hai? Karo. Traffic. What is so different about traffic in Hyderabad as compared to Patna or Calcutta? Ulta side. I mean, it's all very non-linear, let me put it politely. People have a philosophical attitude to traffic. You know, once Akhilesh Yadav told me in UP, he was dropping me at the airport, very nice of him. He pointed to a signal and he said, "Ye Lucknow ka ek hi signal hai, only one signal." I said, "Why?" He said, "Arey Roy sahab, gaon mein signal thodi na hote hai." He said, "Lucknow is a village." So, okay, UP, but I find Hyderabad maybe wahi hai. You know, our Hyderabad police, they have a lovely time. They sit there like teenagers watching selfies. You see them at the traffic light. Oh, traffic is going here and there. So I'm just saying this because again I remind you, our per capita income is 4 times Bihar. Our human development indicators are like Slovenia and Austria. So ये सब क्या हो रहा है? There is no great difference in socio-economic factors between North India and South India, and caste, and patriarchy, and misogyny. And therefore, Amartya Sen is so wrong. Improved per capita incomes, improved human development outcomes, and these are not small differences, have not brought the necessary society transformations that would permit progress to the next stage of prosperity. What I always talk about the IAs here, they're very smug. They say better than Bihar. Are ye koi ambition hai kya? Better than Bihar. I mean, you know, be like Kuala Lumpur. At least be like Indonesia. I mean, So the takeaway is obvious, but the point I want to make is the stuff I put there in capitals, that this social backwardness in fact keeps India united. Social backwardness, inequality is what maintains the unity and integrity of India. It is the only thing standing between you and the deluge. Because these are things we have in common between the plain and the peninsula, so common, so common. जितना भी इनकम अर्न कर लो, जितना भी ह्यूमन डेवलपमेंट करो, कास्ट विल रिमेन, इनइक्वालिटी विल रिमेन, बुढ़े तुम पे राज करेंगे. Wonderful. Same, but different. Consequence है. Now coming back to my domain expertise. Consequence is, if you look at the budget of a typical South Indian state, it's not very different from a North Indian Bimaru state, from a GIP state. Most of the money here, most of the money in Telangana, most of the money in Karnataka is being sent, what I call in other work I've done, compensatory failure. So for a long time I felt that the governments of India, all of them, they have stopped doing development. Vikas sab band, bolta rehta hai, but band hai. What you're doing is you're giving people money, what I call thuk. You're spitting on them and saying, le, so sorry, you couldn't develop. तो पैसे ले ले 10,000 रुपए ले लिया, एक फ्री बस टिकट दे देता हूँ, ये करता हूँ, वो करता हूँ. Got it? Look at how governments spend money. They're not spending on health. They're not spending on education. They're not spending on social welfare. They're not spending on changing their lives. They are compensating you for being a loser. बस टिकट ले ले मुझसे, तो औरत है ना. सॉरी वो ट्रेवल लेना, बस टिकट फ्री जा, बस पे फ्री जा. ठीक है. अच्छा मिड डे मील स्कीम, अच्छा चलो मैं साउथ इंडियन हूँ, एक अंडा दे दूंगा तुम्हें. ओके बस क्या बात है. आई एम गोइंग टू गिव यू ब्रेकफास्ट ऑफ कार्ब्स इन द मॉर्निंग. क्या कर दिया मेरे पास, क्या 30 बार खान कर दिया. We are not spent, so there's a difference. When you spend money, a government spends money, you can spend it on public goods, on merit goods, on investments. We are doing nothing of the sort. We are giving away money to compensation. And just imagine in this great country of India, and this subsidy is well spread, 800 million people, that's not North India. It has to be coming to South India. 800 million people are getting food subsidy. It's the third largest economy in the world. 800 million people are getting food subsidy. Okay? So despite this huge expansion per capita income in South India, the states of South India, for these reasons, behaves like North India. They're not developing, they're only compensating. So the same programs that UP and Bihar have operationalized, you have operationalized here. How? If you're so rich, why? Okay? So in conclusion, penultimate conclusion, the persistence of low fraternity between people, the significance of caste politics, weak institutions, and disregard for rules in the peninsula, in common with the rest of India, means despite the high income and the high human development, this place punches well below its weight in terms of prosperity and social cohesion. You are not going to get South Korea, even Malaysia, even in South India. Nahi hoga. Until you fix this. Now let's talk about this migrant workers. Everyone celebrates this. Migrant workers are Bihar se, na, Orissa se. Karte kya? Karte kya hai? What do they do? Civil work. Huh? Civil work. What work? Civil work. Civil work meaning? That's very polite. Construction nahi. Construction karte kha. Construction I wish. Mere chowkidar hai. See, if you're earning $4,000 per capita, let's say Tamil Nadu, I would expect you to be buying like sophisticated machines to clean your house. Dishwashers. It's a great boon of productivity is dishwashers. I would have a more capital intensive way of running my life. I wouldn't be using cheap labor to run my life. You go to these rich people's houses here, 3 people are sweeping the floor. It really irritates me. Just like they're sitting in Patna or Ranchi or something. 2 people are fixing a light bulb. Or 3 mali बैठ के garden में वो कर रहे हैं. This is not how you behave in a high per capita income place. This is not how you behave. But because you're getting all this cheap labor from North India and from Eastern India, you're able to behave that way. I told many chief ministers this, at least 2, and one who's gone now. Is he still alive? KCR is okay? Achha. So 3, 1 ex and 2 current. That What is the cup of, you tell me, what is the price of a cup of tea in Hyderabad? How much? 15 rupees. And what if I go to Kamath? You know Kamath? So if I go to a place that pays GST, it's 40 rupees at least. But I get tea at 10 rupees. How the hell is a rich state like Tamil Nadu or Telangana affording to sell tea at 15 rupees? Tell me. I can understand some Buka place, Bihar. These are rich, high human development, all educated people. Who is selling this tea at 15 rupees? Biharis. Who is giving you all those chowkidars? Bihar. You should not, it's a good metric for a policy maker in this place. You should not have a single low cost, something is very wrong with your state if you are people selling shit food on the street at shit prices. And one thing that's very odd about the 5 South Indian states is that the share of the informal sector has not gone down significantly, despite Tamil Nadu industrializing. And why is that? Because there is extraction happening because people are not being paid enough. Let me give you an example, one final example of this. It's many dimensions. I hope you've seen enough. I'll give you one more because it's intuitive. Tell me, would you agree with me that the best blue-collar job you can get in India, if you're unlucky, don't have the money to bribe government of India and get a Bharat Sarkar kind of job, or police constable, paise chahiye na, bribe dena padta hai. So if you can't do that, what is the best blue-collar job you can get in India? Private sector. Would you agree it would be in Apple or Samsung? Or Hyundai? Yeah? They're great jobs, man. These are like posh people. They've come here to be job dega. Huh? So you go and work for them. And they're all in Tamil Nadu, so it's easy to see. How much do you think the median worker there after 5 years gets paid? More than you. But how much? How much? No. 52,000. Point is, do you pay income tax at 52,000? No. You pay income tax at 1 lakh. Which means the best manufacturing job in the country, the person who's earning that is too poor to pay income tax. You see what a mess we are in South India, not in Bihar. Okay, why to king hu main 50,000. So because of that, even that fellow will go for 15 rupees tea. So he will go 15 rupees tea because I keep his wages low. And the rich guy will go for that because he prefers that 4 people cleaning his house. Have you seen that? And in the garden, char mali, just like sitting in Bihar, Gorakhpur or something. This is South India's trap. And therefore, we are not able to make the next step. I know you young people want that. You want to be in a high productivity, high investment, high wage, virtuous cycle, right? I also wanted that. All of us want that. Especially the relatively successful ones who can come to the Quorum. You feel you want that. One, please understand, you're not going to get it unless everybody else does at a lower level of prosperity, but they must also get it. उसपे तो बुड्ढे ने ठीक बोला, सबका साथ सबका विकास, ठीक है? लेकिन वो होना पड़ेगा. And this is the bad news I have for young people. You're now in the same boat as them. I was not. You will never prosper unless there is universalized prosperity in this country, especially in South India. So, what is going to happen is we are going to stagnate here. You will go on drinking 15 rupee tea from the kadais. You will never have a footpath in your life. You will have law and order communities. You will try your best to gate yourself, and that will be spectacularly unsuccessful because everything will seep in like a cancer to your gated community. You will not be South Korea, even if you're South India. And you can keep saying better than Bihar for the rest of your life. That's all you're going to get. So, to conclude, the divide between the peninsula and the GIP, the Great Indian Plain, is real. The locus of economic power is here and the locus of political power is there in the GIP. And it is also true, I believe this political statement, that the central government has been malicious with South and has been hegemonic with the South. Abhi to hua hai. Mere samne hua hai. Where Agra and Bhopal or some dehati towns, they were given a metro and Coimbatore and Madurai were not. Fine. But let's not get too carried away by that. We have problems in our own house. That's okay. That's not an excuse to overlook the very serious and real problems that we confront in the peninsula. one that requires better inclusivity and better social cohesion. So it is not in conclusion, I'm not the kind of person who blames somebody else. I look within myself. If I have to fix India, I have to fix North India, I have to increase prosperity here, one way or the other. But what I'm finding is it's same but different. The same things that are keeping North India down are acting as barriers to South India in terms of an increase in prosperity. And I think it is time that we start discussing these things far more than we do now. If this country in which I've invested a lot of my life is going to survive, and if this peninsula where I'm from is going to prosper. Thank you.
At the risk of sounding like communist, I will avoid that.
Communist?
Yeah, socialist, communist,
What
whatever.
about?
When I was looking at news recently, I saw that Rangareddy had overtaken Gurgaon in the richest district of India. And the major asset concentration was in land. So, do you think when it comes to, of course, dealing with inequality even within the state, land reforms as a conversation has gone out of policy, which was there so earlier? Like we shifted it from a constitutional right, fundamental right to constitutional right. Is the solution lying in land reforms, like actually giving the right to property to everyone who were, it was taken away from?
I have a very orthodox view of agriculture. I don't like it. Just like I don't like poverty. Poverty is a drain on the economy. Poor people can't contribute to the economy, you have to subsidize them, which is why I want poverty to be zero. Same way, I don't like agriculture.Maybe you're right. I'll tell you a story. I worked with this government, central government, Delhi Sultanate. And one of the things I did, if the pollution keeps low, I'm going to go to Delhi to talk about it, was this Modi ji's idea, doubling farmers' income. तो उसमें मैं कहा देखो, I'm from Bombay, ऐसे हम लोग धंधा पसंद करते हैं. धंधे में क्या है ना, you must make 15% rate of return on investment. The Indian farmer is committing suicide. I can understand why. I used to be a stockbroker. I don't commit suicide. Why? I also have ups and downs. उसका जिंदगी कितना कच्चा जिंदगी है. He can't decide what to grow. He can't decide where to buy his inputs. He can't decide what price to buy fertilizer. Then when he goes to sell his crop, by chance if the price of onions goes up, people like us will scream on TV, Annam Prasad, dekho pyaz ka daam. Immediately government will import ban, export ban, right? So obviously he's going to commit suicide. So I said, let's look at how we can. Now, obviously the Prime Minister lost interest the moment the slogan was created. But in that research we did find that we would have to actually, there was no alternative to reducing. Two things we had to do. Which had nothing to do with land reform. So I'm open to what you're saying, but I don't know. I just don't know. We would have to reduce the share of agriculture in GDP. We need much fewer farmers if you wanted to have all farmers being profitable. And you have to change this pattern of cultivation of agriculture. When I was a young man, it's a long time ago, I once asked somebody, I was an undergraduate, I said, what is the purpose of agriculture in India? Pata nahi kya kisan log karte rehte hain. Okay. And people told me, they didn't say to make money. I found it very surprising. I'm from Bombay. They said, grow more food. So why? In USA, we are dependent, we must not be dependent. Now, in that process, we never thought about, agriculture is a business proposition. If you thought about it, then the stupid thing this government is doing, I think KCR started it. Why are people here getting subsidized rice? They should be growing millets. Everybody should be eating millets in the peninsula. Why is Punjab growing rice? Huh? I don't understand why Punjab is growing rice. I'm told Punjabis only ate rice when they were sick. Now they're growing rice. And then train is coming up and down, carrying rice. वो खाली जा रहा है ऊपर, पता नहीं क्या circus बना दिया इसको. ठीक है? So the agriculture sector is stood up. Now that's where I am. Now, if you're saying that land reform would improve profitability, it may. I'm just saying that you would not be able to do it unless you're very clear about what we economists call the production function. कि ये क्या बेच रहा है, क्या खरीद रहा है, और धंधा क्या है? That I don't know. But it's possible, you're right. I haven't thought about land reform. The counterfactual I'd look at it is if all the land was owned by one person, Adani, then could I reform agriculture? It wouldn't solve my agriculture problem, right? Adani would be subject to the same rules. But another way to look at it, I guess, I'm thinking aloud now, is what would happen since Adani ka sab log uska servant hai, if I gave all the land to Adani and said, tu kar? What agricultural reforms would I then get? And then I deploy those to help the farmers of today. I don't know.
Take a cue from him on the land issue, but not from a different perspective. If I come here, from these imposing buildings around, the first feeling we get is that we're scared and we get an idea of God, who owns all this? But definitely not even a hope that no, I'm a part of this. And that's the process is actually happening. That somebody else is owning so much that in this room, I can't even think of holding one more talk like this. So if I take land as the source, I heard that in Britain till 1982, the government which built housing in a massive scale in 1950s, they were not allowed to sell anybody. You just have to either give back or pass. And then in China, no real estate, you can't put it in the land. India is the only country where you can park all your speculative earnings in the land, whether you like it or not. So it's all for future use. So all the future uses already are actually owned by some people, and that's all. The future is already, that option is already owned by somebody. So probably no country actually can have, we have produced so much surplus in the South India. It doesn't produce productive jobs. It doesn't, because either it gets to the unproductive jobs of what Adam Smith and Marx would have said, the mopping the floor kind of unproductive jobs, or very low productive jobs. So we can find only on the low wage employment, but definitely not. And we have also allowed this to happen, where surplus is produced but not channeled into any productive investment. It can be parked into more and more speculation. More and more speculation. 1 acre is 100 crores, 200 crores, 300 crores. This is where money gets circulated. And that's all, we will never become any better.
Then it's easy to do something about it if people are willing to. See, one problem in India is, and I'm talking to young people here, you're not allowed to think politically. तुम सबको बोल रहा जाता है कि तुम सर्किट ठीक करो. So if you stop listening to your, I won't say parents, elders, बुड्ढे जो देश चलाते हैं, and don't study hard and work hard, but nothing is going to happen. Okay, you're still going to earn less than paying income tax. I know older people don't like me saying this, but it's true here. I can see it. Why should I lie to you? You're going to be, I've done research on this, not just me. The generation entering the education and the workforce after 2015 is for the first time in 150 years, irrespective of income level, and without legacy from Papa, is going to be poorer than the generation before them. This has never happened in the history of the world since the late 19th century. Never. So now you have common cause to make with those who speak about inequity. I didn't. For me, it was somebody else's problem. I was more prosperous than my father. My father was more prosperous than my grandfather. You're not going to be. Maybe Papa gave you something. I don't know. And, that's why they all accumulated land for you. Okay. But if Papa didn't give you something, then you're going to have to. So if you do that, then you've got to be more political. And you've got to think about, things more politically than perhaps I had the luxury of doing. I could just study hard, do well. Okay. Think about this entire racket we have. So you can do all this. It's a very exploitative process, but people are not fools. People can see its exploitation. But we have a solution for that. I can't resist telling you about this. Kahani hai, you'll enjoy it. So I will be on something called the Central Pay Commission. All babus in the country, unka kya pay hoga, army types all. Some muchad, some nurses in AIMS. I have no idea why. I'll come back to you. Okay, everybody. Every civil servant in this country. First thing I discovered, by the way, is we don't know how many civil servants are there in this country. It'd be quite a shock. I went to the DOPT people, this is I want a full list. I didn't know. Also, I didn't know how many government cadres are there. A bit like UN agencies. I worked for the UN for many years. I could never come up with a full count of UN agencies. I discovered there was a railway radiologist service at the end of my investigation. Bizarre place, India is. But I thought about it then because the IAS delegation came to me and said we should be paid the same. Those days they were paid. IIM graduates, they used to pay some money. They used to pay tax and all. So as much as them. I said, why? I should pay you as much as a BA in Sanskrit. That is your minimum qualification. So zyada kyun do? No, but I thought about it. I said, how come the qualification to become an IAS officer, entry level, the minimum qualification, take the exam, is lower than the qualification to become a primary school teacher? How is this possible? I thought about it. See, becoming an IAS officer or in fact, a primary school teacher or sub-inspector of police, whatever, getting a job in government, is very valuable for two reasons. In this country, you have no identity. When you join these, the whole conversation that they commission is about my identity. IAS is on top, niche bhi. So if I'm a sub-inspector of police, I know that I'm below an inspector of police and above a head constable, and so on and so forth. We have something called a warrant of precedence, which every Indian in government seems to learn by heart. Okay? Because that gives them identity. I was frightened. I didn't come from that world. Everybody wanted that identity. That was one. Second is stability. Somebody falls sick, something happens, Papa is there, Papa is government. But how do you get in this Papa? You can't get in with a BA in Sanskrit, you take exam. Achha. And think about this, young people in this room. There are about 300 million young people at any given time in India between the ages of 18 and 28. Grant me that? Right? Given the youngness of our population. Will you grant me that of these 300 million people, at least 10% are super intelligent? I mean, very smart and conscious and aware. That's a lot of people. That's 30 million people. Of these 30 million, will you grant me that at least 20 million will come from poor geographies, tier 3 towns, villages, etc.? Will you further grant me that most of them, their first experience of government is negative? Somebody slapping them, somebody depriving them of something. That's a lot of people here, 20 million, shit. What do? I don't have jobs for them. I don't have jobs for them. Main kya karu? I tell you, beta, I will give you the Indian version of the American dream. Start taking exams. Start in quota. Take exam. Take exam. Then you can all do IAS because all I require is a BA in Sanskrit. Any medium. Doesn't matter. Take exam. Acha IAS nahi, PCS exam. Sub-inspector exam. Army constable exam. Police constable exam. Are lowest, oddly enough, primary school teacher. Now you go on taking the exams. Obviously, what happens is all of them are not going to be absorbed. No? You know the recruitment, right? At least 70% of them will not be absorbed. But by then, they've taken so many exams and studying and not doing politics. No? Don't do politics. Over kharid ban jaoge. So, by 28, you have not taken exams. You have failed in all the exams. Kya hai tu kachra hai yaar? Kya revolution karega mere khilaf? So I said this because a lot of people would come to me because I was a lateral. Say, oh, Dr. Roy, you're a lateral. You must bring lateral entry into government. I said, bullshit. National security issue. Now, the corollary of that is work, like in the UN, work in government of India or state government is optional. Once you pass the exam, you have an entitlement. Now, you may choose to work. That's you personally. But you have an entitlement. And the entitlement says, unless you really screw up, I can't sack you. So, I khate rahunga. Okay, that's the deal. But very few people get it. All you have to do is publicize, and that's why these media things are so important. You know, every small town in India, somebody gets a shit service. You'll see in the paper, they'll say, Mr. Kanpur Dehat-based ladke ko radiographer service pe bharti ho gaya. They'll do an interview also. Then other children listen to him. This is gone. Can you hear me? Other children listen to him, and so on and so forth. So you have to understand the game that we are playing here. We are trying to keep a rent extracting game going. But on the other side, there are a lot of people being born here, this very young population. There's a great danger of huge instability happening. So the Indian society, I wouldn't say state, and they've not done it consciously. It so transpires that we have come up with mechanisms, national security mechanisms, to cope with this problem. A very important part of that coping is in society, and especially in South India, where they tell you, don't do politics. Don't do politics. So what I'm saying in response to what you said is the way out of this is to do politics. And the interventions that will happen here will not happen in government. Fixing government will not help you. Government is a creature of politics. Just like when people say that, you know, I'm not a fan of the BJP. So when the BJP comes to power, people say, very bad people. Why are they bad? People are voting for them because they know what they're giving. Kabhi jhoot bola Amit Shah ne. In his manifesto, he said, no, you get a Ram temple. Article 370. Said, no, he did it. So who wanted him to do it? People wanted him to do it, so they voted for him. So problem, where is the problem? Problem is in society. If I want to fight that, if I don't agree, I certainly don't agree with Amit Shah. I have to fight it in society. It's not about kaun election jeeta, kaun hara. So this is the kind of consciousness you have to get, and you have to find it on your own. Because unfortunately, I regret to say, I feel very bad about it. I'm sure I'm culpable. We are not educating you like this. We are educating you to become technocrats of one variety or the other, to become problem solvers, not problem diagnosers and actors.